Guys, welcome back into another video. Well, today, I missed the second episode of, Creepy episodes, so this is gonna be the second one, so yeah, hope y'all enjoy. Alright guys, I have no idea what this one is, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with this. Did I turn the light off last time? So, hold on. Alright, I got one.
Reminder.
Hopefully y'all
All
can
my
hear
videos
this.
have minimal ads, and as always, only 3 mid-roll ads in this video. One after story number 1, one after story number 2, and one more after story number 3. I place them towards the beginning of each video so that you can enjoy the rest of the video ad-free. I hope you enjoy. Please do me a huge favor and like the video if you do enjoy.
Alright guys, so this is 3 disturbing stuff, so if you don't like disturbing stuff, uh, don't watch this, I guess, or skip to the parts where I actually do not disturbing. Let's do this. I cannot do that.
I was house sitting for my grandma one weekend while she went to Florida with some of her church friends. I was sleeping in the guest bedroom next to her room. The guest bedroom always had 2 twin beds inside of it that my brother and I would sleep in when we had sleepovers at her house.
I'm trying to find some animation, sort of. Alright guys, I think this is the same one that we did last Thursday.
I used to have a habit of grinding my teeth while sleeping, so I had a lot of arguments with my roommate about this. Of course, I felt sorry for him, so I was thinking about what to do. I finally found out that a mouthpiece would be a perfect solution.
A mouthpiece?
I told him in a loud voice, "You're not going to hear anything from today on." I put the mouthpiece in my mouth and then I laid down. However, he suddenly shook me not too long after. I slowly opened my eyes. The lights were turned on, and my roommate was looking down at me with a blank stare.
Oh.
"What's the matter?" I asked.
You're gonna leave.
"Something's weird," said my friend. And what he said was that he suddenly heard loud teeth grinding sounds again while he was sleeping. But this time, it was bigger than usual, and it sounded more vivid in his ears. And he finally felt that he had reached the end of his patience. "I'm gonna have to kill that bastard." Literally, this is how he felt at that moment. Only thinking about that, he tried to find a knife and put it in my mouth, but it was too dark in the room, so he turned on the light to find it, and then the sound abruptly stopped. You know, when a person grinds his teeth or snores, it doesn't matter whether someone turns on the light or not. But when he turned the light on, the noise stopped, and when he came close to me, he found that I was sleeping quietly with the mouthpiece in. Then, what did he hear? And the next thing my roommate says was, "It just gives me goosebumps. Hey, if I hadn't turned the lights on and found the knife, I think I would have killed you. You know? Pretty weird though, but I couldn't think of anything else."
How do you say you rocked bath time? You say it with Nudge's dog treat.
Still waiting. Come on, Mr. Ad. The boy in the what? I can't.
I don't know where to begin. One night I was working part-time at a convenience store.
Oh.
There was a small warehouse inside where you could place orders and watch the CCTVs. It was so quiet that day that I just went inside and spent time just watching CCTVs. As you see, our convenience store makes a jingling sound whenever someone opens the door. But then, I saw a boy on a CCTV. How's it possible? I didn't even hear the bell ringing.
He's a ghost.
I looked out, but I couldn't see the boy outside the window.
Ghost.
Well, at first, it seemed like he was walking around in front of the snack bar, but he gradually came toward the warehouse where I was sitting. What the? I was terrified. What the heck is that? Then suddenly a man came inside, but I was already too scared to dare to go out. When he saw that there was no staff inside, he turned around and tried to go out again. but at that moment, I almost fainted when I saw his back. Riding on his back, the boy was staring at me. I was frozen on the spot, and after a moment, suddenly I heard a big car and tires squealing. He was hit by a car and died right away. Well, I still don't know what I saw that day. Let me tell you
My grandma's
about my
finger, I think.
Well, she doesn't have one finger. When my grandmother was pregnant with my uncle and aunt, she got her finger stuck in the cultivator's motor, and it got cut off. Also, there were a lot of bad things that happened that year, and she had a lot of people who died or were sick around her. My great-grandmother took my grandmother to a shaman's house at the time after finishing her finger treatment. Well, just as expected, as soon as they visited her, she told her about her bad luck and some other stuff. My
Okay.
grandmother was about to go back home because she thought it was literal nonsense. All of a sudden, the shaman stood up and yelled, "Where's your finger?" Her eyes turned white. "Oh, no. Why did you attach your finger on in that place?" My great-grandmother was surprised at the shaman shouting and asked the meaning. And then she answered like this: "That woman's fingers went in her stomach." Less than a month after leaving the shaman's house, my uncle and aunt were born. And when my grandmother saw her babies, she was horrified. Both of them were born with polydactylism, so they both had 6 toes each on one side. Well, I still don't believe in ghosts or shaman stuff, but that story really gave me the creeps.
This horrible incident happened when I was 15 years old. I had a doctor's appointment to check up on my arm, as I had sprained it a few weeks before. I had to remove my bandages that day, so I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for my turn to see the doctor. Then I suddenly noticed a very tall guy in front of me. Maybe he was about 6'2". He had black hair and was a neat type with a clean-shaven face. And he was wearing a long black trench coat and baggy black tracksuit bottoms. It was obvious that he looked a bit odd, but I decided to ignore him as I was often easily paranoid to strangers. However, a strong smell instantly invaded my sense of smell when he just sat next to me. He smelled like he had something rotten hiding inside of his coat. It was so horrible to endure it, and eventually made me feel sick to my stomach. I instantly got up, rushed to the toilet, and then I ended up throwing up. After cleaning myself up, I went back to the waiting room, and luckily that man was gone. My doctor was waiting for me at that time, so I went to her office, and she got my bandages removed. I told her about the man that I saw just before, and she said she'd seen him before too. She thought there was something off about him, but she eventually didn't say anything. Of course, I couldn't blame her, so I just greeted after that and left the hospital.
Okay, you
As
left
I was
the
coming
hospital.
out from the entrance and about to walk toward my home, I suddenly heard some heavy breathing in an alleyway next to the hospital. At first, I couldn't see clearly who it was.
If you go
because of the
towards it, I
shadow.
swear.
But soon after, I realized that he was the same man that I had seen in the waiting room. He didn't leave. What should I do? I was terrified.
You run! Or
However,
call
there
the
was something
police.
strange about his motion, though. I looked more closely, and I could make out him biting on a severed arm. And that's when I realized that it was the source of the stench I smelled in the waiting room. I almost screamed, but held my breath as much as I could, and then ran down the road to call the police immediately. As soon as they arrived, in about 5 to 6 minutes, they knocked him down on the ground to arrest him. I figured out later that he was finally indicted on charges of kidnap and murder of people. And because of that incident, I didn't go to the hospital and stayed at my home for a while. I wonder, what if I had screamed when I was there and he found me? Would I have been the next victim that he was chewing on? I think it was a good decision that I made at the time, and I'm just glad that I'm still alive.
Hey sis, it's Fleeceman's. Cross everybody off your gift list. The whole squad looking
Please go away. The friend.
This incident occurred when I just turned 12. It was
12.
a big day for me, since we were going to throw my birthday party. Everyone in my house was busy decorating inside. A lot of my friends and all my family members were supposed to come, so I was pretty excited at that moment. Later on, almost everyone had arrived, and I
They
was
look
waiting
very
for
taller and older than
Saya
you.
and Alania. They were twin sisters whom I just met a few days ago. We weren't actually that close to each other, but I thought they were nice and fun to hang out with.
And they
So
weren't.
I invited them the day I met them on the street, and they laughed and said that they would love to come. In fact, I didn't really think about them and forgot about those twin sisters soon, since I was enjoying the gifts I got. A few hours went by. I heard a loud knock on the door suddenly, and when I opened the door, the twin sisters, Saya and Alania, were standing there and smiling. "Come on in." I greeted them and tried to invite them inside. However, one of the girls said, "We weren't expecting this many guests." At first, what she told me seemed pretty odd, but I didn't think much of it because they were too shy
Get the
and
gun.
didn't like being around too many people.
I'm joking.
So I introduced them to everyone in the house. Everything was fine until that moment. Not long after, they came closer to me saying that they had my present. It was the cake they made. It looked like a normal cake, but smelled really bad. And it looked like it was rotting for a long time. No doubt, I felt disgusted. But soon,
Well, you gotta get this fella right here. Bang. Okay, buddy. Let's do this.
so I eventually tried one bite. To my surprise, it tasted really good. I proceeded to eat more and more.
No.
But then, my eyes suddenly started to
This
go
is
dim.
fake, by the way.
The last thing I
Has an
remembered
orange
were
tip.
the twins' big creepy grin, and that I was dragged by them somewhere.
Get the gun.
Then I passed out.
I can't.
I don't know how much time went by, but when I woke up again, I was in a hospital. I could feel my whole body hurting, and my parents almost cried when they saw
You know
me
what?
wake up. I was confused and asked
That's
the
what you
nurse
gotta get.
next to me
Y'all
what
heard that.
happened. Then she told me that a lot of guests noticed that I was gone at certain points on that day. They were looking for me, and they eventually found me unconscious and beaten up terribly in our shed. My parents were shocked and immediately called the ambulance and the police. They asked everyone all kinds of questions.
See, that's why you gotta
As
grab
a result,
this.
the twin girls were gone too.
Come on,
Eventually, they were
man.
found in my attic, hiding behind some big boxes. It was said that
Identify
they were
yourself.
covered in blood and were smiling widely at the police.
Ah!
It turned out that the girls put the heart and the guts of a dead sheep, some small bones, and even thin small needles in the cake I ate. And they also put lots of candies, chocolates, and some sweet things. So that's why I couldn't notice anything weird. It is said
No,
that
that's not
the girls
nice.
had escaped from
That's-
jail a few days ago, exactly on the day I first met them. Fortunately, I didn't swallow any of the needles, but I had to suffer from food poisoning badly for a while. The doc told me I was very lucky to survive. To this day, I still wonder what would have happened to me that day if my family and friends hadn't found me in time. I'm in charge of sound editing and audio at one of the broadcasting stations. And this
So-
is what I experienced the other day.
No.
The inside of our
You experience
editorial
getting coffee.
used to get too dark and gloomy, especially at night. So there were a lot of
Shoot.
people who said they saw ghosts there. After I joined this broadcasting station, I just laughed when I heard about it. Who believes that? However, not long ago, I had to change my mind. The audio file and film would sometimes disappear every other day. Of course, I was scolded by my
Guys, y'all watch
seniors
this.
because
I don't want to
some
stop. I don't want to
lived
like
until
keep on
dawn to make
editing.
up for my
I'm gonna go
mistakes.
grab some water.
The hallway in the editing room was pretty long, and there was a small warehouse inside the room on the far end of the hallway where the film was kept. Originally, only the people in charge could enter the room. However, for some reason, I kept hearing a squealing sound in the room that day. I guess someone's still working. While I was editing,
What did I
I
miss?
heard a noise. Wondering who was inside, I got up from my seat, came out into the
Don't
hallway,
get up. Don't get
and
up.
opened the warehouse
You're
door
safe in there.
slowly. And there was someone inside the room. A woman with disheveled hair was lying on the floor, attaching her stomach. She kept making grotesque sounds and crying. She was also frantically pulling out the tape from the film. The scariest part was the speed she was pulling the tape out. It didn't seem normal. It was abnormally fast, and her
Cow?
posture was just... She didn't just
Moo?
lie on her stomach. She didn't have a lower body. I ran away from the room screaming like crazy, and the next day I told my senior about this.
Why'd you not?
The senior, who was listening quietly, said this. After hearing it, I couldn't sleep at all. Maybe she was looking for the film she had appeared in. Well, let me tell you my story. I'm working as a police officer. I experienced something really incredible a while ago, but no one believed my story.
What?
So I'm here to tell you this.
Okay.
Not long ago, my team and I were dispatched on a mountain after receiving a report that there was a dead body there. While we were doing some research on the dead body, I went closer to it and started to check it out. It seemed like it hadn't been long since he died, and furthermore, his body's condition was really clean. I guess this man probably committed suicide. I was
No.
thinking that, but it was at that moment. Not yet. The dead man was staring at me, with his eyes slightly open, and I definitely saw him saying it based on the shape of his mouth. He's alive! I saw it! I screamed, grabbed the other cops, and shouted, but soon, I eventually got scolded by the chief, and he told me not to disturb the other cops. He also told me that the body's cardiac arrest was checked already. I soon became devastated. Did I not see it? Did I just witness something wrong? It turned out that it had been about 10 hours since he died, and the cause of his death was suicide. I started to tell another senior police officer. He listened carefully to what I was saying, and he finally said this. Well, sometimes there are people like you. You know, those types of people sometimes hear the last thing the dead wanted to say.
Want anything?
No, I'm good, babe.
Can I get a quarter pounder with cheese? Make that too? Thank you. Hey, but I thought you said you...
But you got two.
I just heard this from someone I know.
The finger.
One day, he got up as usual, and then he stared at his finger with a blank expression on his face. Why don't I have 6 fingers? Why do I have 5 fingers? Where's the other one? He started to have these kinds of
Other
thoughts
one?
out of nowhere. He was so worried, and he kept thinking about it on his way to work. And he was so scared when he came back home that he burst out crying. However, he eventually realized it, only before he came home and was about to fall asleep. Oh, yes. I have 5 fingers, actually. A few days later, he posted about this on an online community. Well, of course, most people treated him like a crazy person or just laughed at him. In the meantime, a comment written by one person stuck deep in his mind. The anonymous commenter said he might have early-stage schizophrenia, and he asked him, what if he thought he had 4 fingers instead of 6 eventually? I got goosebumps when I heard that. I had a hobby of capturing some ghost stories that I found on the internet. Goosebumps when I heard that.
No. No, I'm done. Well, that made me done. Well, guys, it's been 20 minutes. Next time will be longer, unless if he does this. So, yeah, guys, I'll see you next video. Peace out. Don't break your fingers. And, by the way, that was a fake gun. So see ya.